Well, Ray, thank you and your committee for all the hard work that you've done. One that I think of was one of the first to pass in our class was Alan Lothridge.
Yes.
Alan went to the University of Georgia, and speaking with John Fox this morning and about Alan, he reminded me of one thing, that Alan loved his friends, but he loved women a whole lot more.
Well, you know, and you mentioned the women, I think of the girls that we had in our class that aren't going to be with us this time. Folks like Heidi Hardy, I remember that big smile of hers, and Aletha Poss and Joan Gegenheimer, folks that we knew and we might have been in class with, and yet we're not going to be able to be with them because we lost them. And
Well, thinking of girls certainly reminds me of my friend Banks Simpson. Had Banks dated all the women that spoke to me for 6 to 9 months, he would have died at 425 years old.
a good memory, yeah.
Rest in peace. He was a good one.
Yes, it was a shame we lost him in an accident. And I was thinking about just talking with Karen Pennywitt Cogburn the other day. I was thinking the other day, Mark Fennell lived right up the street from me. The guy made great grades. He was in charge of the Lead Traveler, the newspaper, and yet when did he have time to do all that? Play baseball, run track, and fastest guy I'd ever seen. And we all go off to college together. You know, friends like that you'll never forget.
You know, I remember Danny Bullock. It was sad to see him on that board. He was such a sweetheart, but I remember most, Dee Dee Germain set us up on a blind date. She had a date with John Threckle, and I told her, tell him I do not kiss on the first date. And then when we met him at the movies, I told her, you didn't tell him, did you? Well, don't.
I should have known. Oh, that's good. That's, you know.
You know who comes to mind is Jimmy Webb.
Jimmy Webb, president of the student council.
We went one time to the elevator shaft behind the cafeteria, and we were smoking in there, and we finished and went back to our class, and all of a sudden the fire alarm went off. Turns out there was a fire in the elevator shaft. I went to Virgie Cone, and he went to Mr. Kelly, and I don't know how many swats he got for that one.
Karen. I remember the last time I saw Joe Giuliano. Joe and his wife were sitting at a table, and I asked if I could join them. And I remember that smile of his, and we were talking about old times, but Joe was such a nice, sensitive guy, and I can always remember sitting there, and then several years later we learned that we had lost him, and I treasure the fact that I got to see him that day and to have that one-on-one conversation. There wasn't 10 people standing around. It was great.
I think that was the last time I got to see Claude Powell.
It was.
And he was the first love of my life. Oh, big time, big time. But he kind of was the first hippie in our class, to be truthful with you. He ended up going to California, and he became a good photographer. He had a lot of shots in Rolling Stones magazine.
Ronnie Harvey. She was part of our very first reunion committees, a majorette and beautiful and graceful.
You know, to me, the height of the last reunion was Bruce Stephenson.
Yes.
Steph was Steph. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
There was so much to say about him.
I remember we were going up to visit. It was Jimmy Johnston, Bruce Stephenson, myself, and one other fellow that went to Fletcher. And we were going up to Winthrop College. We were going to visit Julie Langston and Barbara Farrell and Nella Owen. But then we got on campus before they changed classes. So it's 4 guys standing there, didn't know where we were. Class let out, and 3,000 women in an all-girls school came out. Bruce Stephenson was in euphoria.
I bet he was.
He was babbling. He didn't know what to do. It was
I
great.
bet he was.
We've always teased each other when he was still alive that was a moment we'll never forget.
Oh,
it was a great time.
That's
Steph was
great.
super.
Steph always had an open bar in his room, too, at reunions.
After the reunion, it was a
Yes.
post. And the
People standing all around the room.
and the security people, how many times they come up there? I know it.
Y'all got to be quiet.
That's right. You got to quiet down the people below you. That's right. That was a good time. I can remember that like it was yesterday.
George Farrell.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, George, he was a teddy bear. He really was a teddy bear. Good hugger, big, good hugger. sweet smile.
That's what I remember. If somebody said, "What are you going to miss about George besides his presence?" I'm going to miss that smile. Everybody loved George. He was one of the mascots for the senior girls in the senior year. I remember Christine Fish. She hadn't been to the early reunion, but she came to the 15 year, and she hadn't been around, and she felt she wasn't going to know anybody, and she got so involved in that reunion. She ended up sitting at the greeting table when you checked in, and to get to know folks and who they were. And at the same time, she had so much fun, and she called us and said, "I wasn't sure I was going to enjoy it, but I really did." And then only to learn later on when we called, when we did not get a registration from her, and her husband said, "I've been dreading this call, and I need to let you know she passed away."
Chris Ramsey.
Oh, Chris,
Oh,
vice
man.
president of the class.
He was a super potter. In fact, I have a knob that he made up on my deck.
Do you really?
I do. He married, if you remember correctly, another classmate, Mickey Skanes.
He did. He sure
They
did.
were married for 17 years and extremely happy.
Those are good memories. Yeah,
Those
Chris
are.
was a great guy.
He was a great guy. Sad to see him gone.
Yes.
It's something with the class, when you see a classmate, the years just melt away.
I agree. I feel the same way, especially like at George's when we would go to the restaurant and somebody would come in.
And you go, "Who's that?"
Well, one time I knew who it was. I was just trying to sit there and say, "Now, who's she married to?" There's not going to be a conflict. But anyway, you go up and it's just like you just went right back in time and
Absolutely.
remember when they come up and somebody will hold your hand and say, "I just wanted to come over and say hello," or "I wanted to go over and say hello."
Yeah.
I do know there are people, if the car breaks down, if I've got a medical illness, I need a tooth extracted, which I had to do one time with John Robb, I can call and say, "Look, I got to come see you." And he stayed after hours to take it. It's just, I know things are good when I'm here.
Yes.
That's
yes. I've always believed that you are a part of everybody you meet. And there is no doubt in my mind that every person that was in our class changed me just a little bit, made me a little better, made me a little smarter.
The special nature of this class, and those that haven't been able to be with us lately, it's been fun talking to them on the phone and knowing that they're coming and they're ready to join back into that because they have missed out on some of it. And I so look forward to seeing everybody, but at the same time, I feel good about the group that's going to be coming together.